Right, splendid, we're working. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, it's Antony Carpen here on Hinton Road, and I'm just outside Eddie's barbershop, which is often where I come to get my haircut. And this is really part one of the history of the Rock Estate that I want to record, not least because it's actually reasonably warm outside and quiet enough, I guess, for filming. The early part really of the history of the road I'm walking down, Hinton Road, it's this side. You can kind of date the development of Cambridge really through the houses, because the older houses are here and the newer houses are down the road. We're walking past the Rathmore Club here, and about 15-20 years ago I used to be a member during my sixth form college days, and it's been an Irish pub for as long as I can remember, in the ownership of the Munnelly family. The family used to go to church, the same church that I did, which is how I got to know them back then. And before that, it was a liberal club, because the city used to have a number of buildings that were either owned or run by local political parties, in particular the Conservatives and the Liberals, obviously because they were the main two around. It wasn't really until the turn of the century, with the formation of the Labour Party, that the likes of the Romsey Labour Club and Alex Wood Hall, that we've seen in a previous episode, came about. And further down the road, we also have the old Constitutional Club, which is now being turned into flats. We're walking past Ladbrokes on the corner of Rock Road, and this used to be both a post office and a bank. And where you've got these box flats called Burton House, which is nice and imaginative, that also used to be part of the bank, and until recently the County Wardrobe had their premises there. And I remember doing a photo shoot. Have a look at some of these photos. Exactly. Anyway, we're heading down Rock Road. One of the things I'm still trying to find out is where, shall we say, the Rock got its name from, because I know there was, and the archives show that there was a rock trading company, if I can call it that, and they were the people behind the construction of this entire estate. Now, looking around at it now, it's so dead. It's kind of like so peaceful, almost eerily so. But we can see, if you look at the houses now, many of the, certainly the larger detached ones, will go for £1 million, because that's the state of the housing market in Cambridge. But like I said, for me, this has always been my childhood neighbourhood. And just like the Newtown area of Cambridge, it was built to deal with the city's expanding population. Now, in those days, there were a number of small independent businesses down the roads here, and some of the newer houses that have since been built indicate where those were. So, for example, on the corner of Hartington Grove, that you can see just there, that used to be a garden nursery. The old maps actually indicate this. Also, further down, we've got the other side of Hartington Grove that way, which is where my old schoolmate Mark Redhead used to live down. There are a number of what look like filled-in garage units that again used to be the premises of a whole host of small micro businesses that basically made this area tick in its early decades. This part of town was also greatly affected by both the First and the Second World Wars. In the First World War, a number of local residents signed up, as did many millions of citizens, And there's an exhibition in the library that was built in 1935, funnily enough, called Rock Road Library, which is also my local library. And they've got a wonderful exhibition on basically the history of the estate around the time of the First World War. And it was just after the war that they built the library, and this is it. Now, some of you may have seen a few of the... Oops, sorry, I've got shopping with me. Some of you may have seen, because it's closed on a Sunday, some of the videos that I filmed in the garden. Also, in the house just next to it used to live a music teacher, and that was the first place that I had my first piano lessons with a war widow, I think, called Miss Blows. And I think between probably about 1940 to 1990, she taught most of this estate basically how to play the piano or how to play the recorder. Now, this building behind me that we've just walked past, I'm going to come back to it, because this used to be a sweet shop. And that sign there has been there for absolutely donkey's years. But I don't really know, and I've never really found out what's kind of happened to it since. So, one for the local history detectives around there. Funnily enough, the exhibition in Rock Road Library actually found out what the shop started off life as, because there's a photograph of the original proprietor who set up the shop after coming back from France at the end of the First World War. Now, one of the other things that happened in the Second World War that I only found out through the county archives was this neighbourhood of ours was bombed by the Nazis. Over 100 incendiaries were dropped in this area of town, and we know this because the archives show all of the receipts for the repair bills that resulted from bomb damage, because during the Second World War people were able to claim back the costs of the repairs to their properties that resulted from bomb damage as a result of air raids. We're walking further down Hartington Grove, and again I'm going to swing round towards Hinton Road, because like I said, I want to do this in more than one part, not least because it's a much altered neighbourhood, but also because the buildings that were built here, and I mean the non-residential ones, and how they've been converted over time, really shows how in a very, very short space of time our society has changed immensely. We've got some new flats that have gone up there. Further down that passage is a violin maker, and every so often they do summer workshops there, I believe. I don't think I've ever been able to afford one my own. I've promised myself, if I ever really get back into classical music, that I would commission a viola to be made. Because when I was in London and was part of the Mary Ward Centre's orchestra, which, if you are in central London and want to get back into music, do have a look at them. There was another viola player who was with me, who I think she was from Brazil, and she had a beautiful walnut wood custom made viola, and it was just beautiful. And I kind of said to myself, yeah, I want to get one like that. but unfortunately at the same time she was, for some reason, a very, very frosty character and didn't stick around for whatever reason. So I was never able to find out whereabouts she got the viola made from. But I've got it stuck in my mind in terms of what it's made of and what it looks like, so you never know. We've just walked past the Friends Meeting House, and what we've got here is the old United Reformed Church. Now, the original church is not that. The original church, and I found this again in the newspaper archives, looks something more like that building, the church hall. And it was, the original building was first built in 1906. I'm just going to see if I can get permission to film inside it and see what they say. So I'll be back in a tick, because I want to ask. So I've just had a word with George Pippas behind me, who's got the wheelie bin there. He's one of our local councillors and also is one of the community leaders for the Greek Orthodox Church here. And he's invited me to come along and film inside the churches and basically to have a tour of the facilities and also their plans to renovate one of the community halls that they've got there and open it up. So that will be one of the other episodes coming up, which is splendid.